Welcome to the Scoop World Order. Happy NFL Sunday. What a great day of football. A great weekend. The Bucks obviously had their bye week. The team is nice and freshened up. The guys are all back. Ryan Day turned it up a little bit at practice today. Got some of the bye weekend partying out of these kids. So they're ready to rock and roll. Get ready for Marshall. Nice stretch coming up, folks, for Ohio State football with Marshall, Michigan State, first road test, Iowa. Then obviously the big one with the Ducks, and then to another bye week. So this is I think this is an incredible stretch for the schedule. I think that it's a nice ramp up to the Oregon game, which will be a massive test for us. But is Ohio State really the number one team in the country? Obviously, Texas smashed a hapless opponent. Georgia looked rough last night. Offensively, they don't scare me at all. I would love to play those guys today. I think that our firepower would be a big issue for those guys. So we're going to get into that. We're going to take your questions as always. And get ready for this kind of second, not really like quarter of the season, but that's what it feels like coming off this bye week. It feels like we had a little break, and now this stretch is going to be an amazing one for Ohio State football. That being said, if you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Awesome times at Buffalo Wild Wings in Twin Peaks last night. They had huge crowds for the UFC fight. It was an excellent night. If you guys aren't following Dagestan Poppy, what are you doing? He swept the card last night. So if you tailed his bets, congratulations. You got some money in your pocket today. So we appreciate him. But again, we appreciate all that you guys do. If you guys want to do something absolutely fantastic for us, follow our show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. We're growing our audio medium. The YouTube is growing like crazy. We're trying to get the audio version caught up to it. So if you guys enjoy the audio podcast, make sure you subscribe on both platforms. Leave us a 5-star review. Again, those are huge for us. And we appreciate it. That's free, and it takes you about 30 seconds to do. So help Buckeye Scoop out. Help us stay number one. And because this is a huge show, because you guys make it one, we appreciate you guys. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Going to get right into it with Nevada. The Georgia Bulldogs did not look good yesterday. They are supplanted at number one by Texas. Texas, our guy Quinn Ewers, sustained a minor injury in oblique. Likely might miss this week against a lesser ranked opponent. If it was playing Oklahoma, he'd probably get up and go. But Arch Manning looked really good. Again, they I don't think they're gonna have a quarterback controversy because Quinn's the guy. Next year they're gonna be really good with Arch. But do you think Ohio State is the true number one team in the country at this point?
Well, I certainly could make an argument for it, especially in light of the Ewers injury. I mean, if we're talking about right now, today, how would we play? I mean, if Texas had to play today with a diminished Quinn Ewers against Ohio State on a neutral field, I guarantee Ohio State would be favored. Same thing with Georgia. I mean, Georgia, I have not understood the Georgia love this year. I know, but the preseason, people were talking about Georgia, and I just kept looking at the team, and I'm just not seeing it. And I don't know, it's I feel like Tom Hanks in Big, where he's just like, I don't get it. I don't get it with Georgia, and I think they really struggled for a half against Clemson, then turned it on, and then played Kentucky, and frankly should have lost the game. So I'm not really sure where Georgia. I mean, Georgia's a good team, but do they deserve to be in the same elite category with the Texas and with an Ohio State? Not to me. And for Ohio State, you look at kind of, you can only play who you line up against, kind of like with Texas against UT San Antonio. But if you're having to go into a game with Arch Manning versus Ohio State and Will Howard, I don't know. I'm taking the Buckeyes. I'm sure the betting public is taking the Buckeyes, and I think that's probably going to continue this week. I saw the early line. I think Ohio State's like a 39-point favorite against Marshall. Marshall really struggles. Offensively, they're really going to have trouble moving the ball, and should be another suffocating performance for this great Ohio State defense. But I think look, I think there's I think there's one really great team this year, and that's Ohio State. I think Texas is really, really, really good. And then I'm telling I don't have Georgia. I think Georgia's a notch below those two. And I've said this before, but I think Georgia could lose 3 games this year in the regular season. They go at Alabama, they go at Texas, they go at Ole Miss, and then they play at home against Tennessee. I mean, that's 4 of the top 7 teams in the country. I really believe that they'll minimum lose 2 games regular season. Certainly could lose 3. And it's not inconceivable they could lose 4 because they could have lost last night.
Yeah, I agree. I watched them, and they just don't scare me from a skill player perspective. Like, with Ohio State, I mean, would Brandon Inniss be the number one receiver for the Georgia Bulldogs? I think he would be. I mean, they don't have Brock Bowers anymore. I think that the quarterback is a good player. I don't think he's in Quinn Ewers' category. I think he's closer to like a Will Howard type, but I don't think he's that. I don't think he's that great. I mean, I really don't. And they struggled. I mean, they were backs against the wall playing, Kentucky, which is one of the lower tier teams in the SEC. And, I know the thing about the SEC is like they build in this, when a team plays like trash versus a lesser team, they literally will say, well, it's the SEC and you got to bring it every week in the SEC. It's like, no, like Georgia should smash Kentucky. Like Kentucky, they're not like Purdue bad. I mean, they got the holy water beat out of them yesterday. Notre Dame, Purdue. I don't think they're the worst team in the Big Ten. I think that UCLA is going to run away with that torch pretty easily. But I think Kentucky they'd be like a mid-tier Big Ten team. I think they'd be kind of like a Rutgers. I think Rutgers would give Kentucky a good game if they played each other. That's the kind of caliber. So Georgia should smash them, is what I'm saying. So, but Texas, I think Texas is clearly the second best team in the country at this point. I think that the preseason rankings will make that Michigan win look a little bit more gaudy than it really is. It's kind of like when we played Texas in 2006, we went down to Austin, we beat them. They were number one in the country at the time. So that was looked at as a huge landmark win. But by the end of the season, they had 3 or 4 losses, and they were playing in the Alamo Bowl. They weren't anywhere near the team that they were in 2005 when they had Vince Young. But early in the season, it was like, okay, 1 versus 2 matchup. We won. We became like, that's kind of like this Texas Michigan. Michigan was a top 10 team coming into that, and obviously they're top 100 team now. I mean, they are atrocious. And I think that God, Nevada, it's like the money line of that game now is like minus 2,100, which is, you get about $2,100 to win $100 on Ohio State. The spread's like, I think it's almost 20 points now when they play Ohio State, like the futures market. So yeah, I love the direction of this Ohio State team. I don't mind the bye because I think that it gives you a chance to recalibrate your depth chart a little bit and get after these guys a little bit, get a little rest, get a little recruiting done. And then you get to March. Again, this schedule, it looks like I made it. Like if you say, Kirk, how could we have to play Oregon, we have to play Michigan. How would you set it up? I'd be like, well, this is pretty good. I mean, I don't know if I'd do the bye week this week. Maybe I'd have done it next week, but this is about as good as it gets. You get a bye week, then you get Marshall, Michigan State. So Michigan State is your first road game, not, an overly daunting matchup. And then you get Iowa at home, which would be a nice step up for Michigan State. They're always good defensively. And before you get to see the big quacks out west. So I'm really excited about the direction of the team. I think we've got a lot of momentum right now. And I love how, when you look around the country, man, they're just, there's some years where there's that Godzilla team lurking out there. And I don't see it this year. I think we're Godzilla this year. So I think that people are going to rue the day that they messed with the Buckeyes and they said anything, because this is the best combination of offense and defense in the country, bar none, in my opinion. And this is one of the best, I think, complete Ohio State teams, especially when when I talk about an Ohio State team, I include the coaching staff. So when you look at what Jim Knowles is doing and you look at what Chip Kelly's doing and you look at how those two can self-scout and cross-pollinate and go against each other in practice. And, the thing that Ryan Day's really good about is he has these guys clinic each other on what they don't like to do, what do they not like to see, what gives them problems. And then we put it in. So if Jim Knowles hates hates the triple option or RPOs or whatever, like we put that in because Jim's he's a really sharp DC. And then on the flip, like if there's stuff that Chip doesn't like go against, if it's bear defense or certain coverages or whatever, that's what we run. So we do a lot of that. And the bye week is a good time to get together and say, okay, through 2 weeks, this is what we did. This is what we've shown. And again, we talked ad nauseum about how Chip Kelly loves to put things on film that we might never see again. Like we ran a 4 tight end set, which I think some statistics said we hadn't done that in 50. So it was some crazy 30 years or something. We've never run a 4 tight end set. We did it multiple times in the last game because I know that's what Chip wants to do. He wants to put stuff on tape so that some poor GA at Marshall has to draw that up on a card and say, well, hey, you got to get ready for this 4 tight end look that Ohio State runs. It's crazy where, it's like an unbalanced 3 tight ends to one side and then a nub back to the other side. And, what could they possibly do and all that? So again, I love Chip Kelly. I love the mind games he likes to play with the future DCs he's going to go against, because I know what he's doing when he's doing that. Like, he's like, I'm going to put all this crazy stuff on film, and then they're going to have to practice against it, and then we're never going to run it again. They're going to waste all that time, and like, he loves being devious like that. I mean, I think it's great. What are your thoughts on that, Nevada? And we can dig into some super chats. We might watch a little bit more of these Michigan follies, because Michigan was really, really bad against Arkansas State.
Well, today I was obviously a Packer fan, so I got to watch Malik Willis versus Anthony Richardson playing the quarterback. But yeah, woof. And I got to thinking as I'm watching, with Willis, he's a guy that was just brought in 3 weeks ago, hasn't really practiced with the Packers. Still ran around and did some things. But Anthony Richardson's been there for 2 years, and you can't convince me that Will Howard can't be an NFL quarterback after watching Anthony Richardson run around and play out there. Like, I refuse to accept that premise. So I know he'll miss some throws, but guys, you got to watch the NFL, man. These are NFL quarterbacks that are being paid millions of dollars a year, and I don't know if it's half of them, but at least a third really struggle to complete a pass down the field. And Richardson would definitely be a guy that's in the category. Today, Bryce Young, the quarterback for the Carolina, number 1 pick overall in the draft, stat line 18 for 26 for 84 yards. No touchdowns, 1 interception. That was Bryce Young. So don't tell me that Will Howard, because he underthrew J.J. Smith one time, can't play quarterback, can't do it. Like, guys, man, quarterback play, if you can run and you can do anything with your legs, you can, a la Jaden Anderson, you can at least be effective and semi-move the team. Malik Willis moved the team with the Packers, some opportunistic runs. They ran the quarterback draw a number of times, gave him some easy throws. But, it's quarterback play right now in the NFL is just such a tale of two cities. You've got the haves and then everybody else. And I like I said, I'm just always fascinated by it. I think we're so hard on our players because we see them, and I think familiarity breeds contempt. But having Will and having his running ability and having his ball handling ability, his ability to handle the exchanges on the RPOs and everything else, I just think that stuff is underrated, and it's really going to pay off big for us down the stretch. Like you said, we've got an ideal schedule coming up. And Oregon looks super mortal, even though they will be jacked out of their mind. That game, biggest game in the history of that stadium, bar none. So they're going to sell out. They're going to bet the entire franchise on the fact that they can win that game. So that's going to be that's one of those games where just be happy if we win by 1. That you don't care about style points in that one. You don't care about anything. Just if we can just escape and win by 1 point up at Oregon, I'll be super pleased because that's going to be a mighty big test. But I think the schedule sets up perfectly going into it, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
I love Will Howard. Like, again, I like how he carries himself. I like what I hear about him from his teammates. And again, like, I mean, come on, guys. Like, let's watch. I mean, we're watching Bo Nix versus Justin Fields again. And the funny thing to me is, like, I think Justin Fields is one of the toughest players in Ohio State history. I love Justin Fields, but I mean, Justin is like, he's thrown for like 120 yards today, and he's got like 20 yards rushing. So it's like, to me, is Justin Fields better than Will Howard? Yes. Is Justin Fields that much better than Will Howard? I don't know. I really don't. Like, I think Justin, like, and again, Justin's probably going to get a win because Pittsburgh's defense is terrorizing Bo Nix. But, to me, it's like I always tell people, it's all about your infrastructure. Like, when you're watching, like, Anthony Richardson versus Malik Willis, I mean, it's like your eyes bleed. Like, it's visually painful to watch them. Like, Brock Purdy was the 7th round pick. Like, I mean, is Brock Purdy really that much better than Will Howard? I don't know. He was Mr. All of it. I would guess that Will Howard's going to go before the 7th round of the draft. Bryce Young, atrocious. Deshaun got something done today. Dude, I mean, I literally, it's so funny because you say that and people beat Will Howard to death. And I'm sitting here watching like Gardner Minshew and like some of these guys out there. And I'm just like, I like our quarterback. I think he's really good. Now, is he CJ? That's the problem, is everybody compares him to CJ Stroud. Like, CJ Stroud's the best thrower we've ever had. And Dwayne Haskins is probably the second best thrower we ever had. I don't know if they're the best quarterback. I still like Troy because I like guys that beat Michigan and I like winning the Heisman and everything else. But, I mean, CJ and Dwayne, and I know CJ is going to make a lot more money in the league, and Dwayne was a first round. I get all that. But, Troy was the Wolverine killer back when Michigan was really good. So, again, that means something to me at Ohio State. I don't judge guys by what they do in the pros, because once they leave Ohio State, I wish them well. I hope they do great in the league, but I don't really care anymore, because, that doesn't affect Ohio State or Buckeye Scoop. That's the most important part of the thing. But I love watching these guys in the league. Like Marvin went off, and Jackson Smith and Jigba had a huge game, had 12 catches. So big day for the Bucks. Paris Johnson was fantastic. But yeah, I love the direction of everything right now. I love the movement around the team. I love that these guys got a nice little bye week. There was a huge big rap concert that I'm sure, Nevada, you're all excited to hear about, the Sexy Red concert from last night, where I would bet a lot of money that half the team was there, because Boss Man D-Lo was there. I mean, he's like one of the biggest rappers in the world right now. Those guys love him, and they play him in the pregame when these guys are warming up. So honestly, I think that if I was, Ohio State or Ryan Day, like, something I would do, and there's no way they could ever do this because I know that they have no say in this or whatever, but the fact that there was a huge concert here last night, I think it would keep some of these guys in town, because I always worry about the kids that go home. Who are they hanging out with? What are they doing? Are they going to kick it too hard? Are they going to miss their flight? So the fact there was actually a really good show last night that I would bet a ton of these guys went to, I don't think that hurts the bye week. All right, we'll dig into some super chats at Nevada. Let's see who we got first. We got Dude Messina, man, Maserati Marv, man, incredible. Nevada, of course, I had to go against Marvin in fantasy, of course. And he had 4 catches for 130 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. And then he was shut out the rest of the game. That's one of the weirdest stat lines I think I've ever seen, because I was like, is he going to have 500 yards today? But they obviously they focused on feeding him after he was kind of beat to death by the media, and someone said he ran 16 miles an hour, and I was like, they might want to get that chip checked, because 16 miles an hour is like not very fast for a world-class wide receiver, but he was running fast today, and he made his impact. And God, the Rams are really, really bad. They smoked the Cardinals, or they got smoked 41-10 out in Arizona. What are your thoughts on Maserati Marv, Nevada? He had a very tough game. Nevada, the question is, man, or it's not really a question, it's a statement. Again, thank you, Dade Messina. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for the deuce. Man, Maserati Marv, man, incredible. Your thoughts on Marvin Harrison today?
Well, I thought it was so predictable that they would feed him. It's like, that's when you want to go on those, Marvin Harrison anytime prop touchdown, because they were making a concerted effort. I mean, they were throwing to him late in the game, up like 34-10, and they were throwing at the end zone, throwing fades to him and stuff. So they were trying to get him those big numbers. But yeah, he had a big game, big snapback game. He's going to do well in that offense. I mean, the Cardinals have got some weapons. It's a good setup for him, with Kyler Murray and with Paris Johnson there at left tackle. And look, they can do some things, and they want to get him the ball. That's the best thing. The best thing is he's not in a situation where they don't want to feed him. They want to feed him. Kyler needs to have a true number one like that, and Marvin's just that guy. So I thought this week was super, super, super predictable, and it was good to see him get on the board. Yeah, he had a monster first quarter. Didn't do anything after that, but that first quarter was enough for anybody's week for sure.
Yeah, Jackson Smith and Jigba had 12 catches. Garrett Wilson led the Jets in receiving. It was a nice day for Zone 6. Good for Zach. Rohan, Vangel, and Brian Hartline. Thanks for the 5. Considering how many dips and dives the Big Ten has been doing in the bottom of the AP Top 25, how many ranked wins will we get by the time we finish Week 12? That's a great question. I mean, I imagine, Iowa just lost to Iowa State, so that hurts them. They're not ranked. Michigan State is not ranked, I don't believe. Oregon, I imagine, will be ranked in the final poll. Michigan, I don't think will be. I think they'll have 3 or 4 losses. I'm sure Nevada, you're with me on that. Let me pull our schedule up, because I know the front end. It's funny because mentally I kind of compartmentalize this kind of quadrant that we have right now, where it's Marshall, Michigan State, Iowa, Oregon, and then the next part. Nebraska's Nebraska's kind of sneaking up there right now. I think
Penn State's going to be Penn State will be there because they've got an easy schedule. They don't play
yeah.
anybody other than us.
Yeah, Nebraska's 22. Penn State is Oregon is currently 9. Nebraska's 22. Penn State's 10. You know, the one that's tricky now, Nevada, and my beloved Indiana Hoosiers. We play them the week before Michigan. I mean, that's going to be a tougher test than the Michigan game, I think. Now, again, Michigan is still Michigan. Michigan's still Michigan. I get that. But, I mean, Indiana, it was funny. I was talking to Nevada, and I was like, I think they're going to kill UCLA. And they beat the tar out of them last night. It was like 41-10. And I think Indiana's guy is going to win the Coach of the Year just because they can't ever give it to the guy that's at Ohio State ever because that's like they feel like it's cheating. But, you know, I think UCLA is the most poorly coached team. Them and Michigan are just impossibly poorly coached at this point. UCLA's got the worst athletic director in the country, and he hired Deshaun Foster, who's so far over his head that it's unbelievable. But again, it was a dumb. I mean, I'd fire the AD right after that hire because I'm like, they've got no chance. And then you've got Indiana, who I think is very well coached, and they beat the tar out of UCLA. They ran all over them. So, yeah, that'll be a really tricky one. I mean, I think Indiana will be ranked, honestly. And again, I'm not trying to blow smoke, and I know it's only a couple weeks into the season, but I think they're going to be tough before Michigan. Like they're kind of sneaky good at this point. So yeah, I'll say Nebraska, Penn State, Indiana, Oregon. So 4. Do you agree? Disagree? Nevada? I'm looking at Indiana.
No, that's about right. You know, a couple of points. So one, first of all, that Indiana game is in Columbus. So if that game, because when I looked at the schedule before, if that game was in Bloomington, you know, that might be a trap game. That might be officially a trap.
Yeah.
Before I mean, we've seen that before with some great teams. I think it was I think the '98 team played it. I can't remember, but there have been some games that are '96 or '98 or what it was, but. You know, at Indiana can be tricky sometimes, especially and I do think they're better than and I agree with you on terms of the 4. But I got a question for you, so because it's kind of relevant to this, but it's not. But I want to hear your opinion on this.
Sure.
Is it more relevant when you beat a team where they're ranked when you beat them, or where they end up at the end of the year? And let me just pose to you a couple of thoughts. One, because if you beat a team, by definition, they're going to fall because they lost to you. So they're not going to be as highly ranked. Some people are like, how many wins do you have in the top 5? Well, none, because nobody that we beat is going to stay in the top 5 because we beat them. And also, when Ohio State beats a team or whatever, it can inevitably set off a cavalcade of things. Now, on the other side, that would be a team that's overranked, like Notre Dame, who's I think was 5th in the country when we played them in Columbus a couple of years ago or whatever it was. And clearly they weren't worthy of being there. But I've always wondered where do you fall on that? Because I kind of go both ways, and I'm kind of leaning towards where are teams when you play them, because to me that's a representation of how that team felt about themselves. Because it'd be kind of like when you guys beat Iowa, I think in '06 when you beat them, and then they kind of soiled the buoy after that and kind of ended up being there. But at the time when you beat them, I think they were undefeated or either undefeated or one.
They were. No, they were.
I mean, yeah. And so like they were betting the whole enchilada on that game. Like that game for them was a hell game, and they were like that was going to be it. And then you beat them, and then they kind of circled the drain. But I don't know. I laid out the discussion point sufficiently enough so you understand the parameters?
Yeah, in that game, they were 13th in the nation. They were undefeated, 4-0. So it wasn't like they were. It wasn't like it was week 2. It was week 5. And when we played them in 2004, we got as bad of a beat down as we could ever imagine. It was just impossibly bad. As the Chiefs, of course, beat the Bengals on the last second with Harrison Butker. Here's my thing. I think that there's a lot of merit to saying, beat them when you beat them, where they're ranked. But I think when you do the preseason poll stuff, sometimes you just don't know what a team is. Like again, like Georgia Tech was the toast of the town when they beat Florida State week 0. And now Florida State turns out that they're atrocious. They're 0-3. And I'm sure TJ Alford had a blast on his official visit with that atmosphere. I mean, my God. So, but I think it kind of depends on if anything major happened, like namely if you beat a team and then they suffer some sort of a major injury, a quarterback, a star player, and then they fall off the earth, or if they're just not very good. Because like the Texas team that we beat in 06 they were preseason number 1, obviously with Vince Young coming off the national championship. We beat them. They ended up losing 3 or 4. They just weren't as good. They had Colt McCoy, and they were super talented. I mean, they had Jamal Charles and Jermichael Finley. I mean, they had the NFL guys all over their team. They had 3 or 4 NFL D linemen, I remember, first round picks in the secondary. They were good. They just weren't as good as they were in 05. So I think that sometimes, if you get a team early in the season, I think it matters when you play them. If you play them early in the season and maybe they've eaten a couple cupcakes to start off, and then all of a sudden, they're a little, the rating is a little inflated, then I think that it's, you take, when we beat Texas and they're number 1 in the country, that's great and all, but they weren't really number 1. Then we beat Michigan, they were number 2 in the country, and then they go out and get smashed by USC in the Rose Bowl, and we lose to Florida. So were they really number 2? I don't know. But I think it just depends on, other factors. Because I was looking at if there's some sort of a severe injury or something catastrophic happens, and then they lose a couple games. Again, in 07, the team that I thought we were going to see if we made it to the national championship was Oregon. Oregon was, they went up to Ann Arbor and beat Michigan by 40 points. I mean, they beat the tar out of them. Dennis Dixon was the favorite to win the Heisman, and I think they were, I don't know if they were 1 in the country or 2, but they were way up there. But Dennis Dixon tore his ACL, and then all of a sudden the wheels fell off of Chip Kelly's wagon, and so all of a sudden they capsized and they weren't a factor going down the stretch. So, but I think that's a great question. I really think that it depends on when you see them, because if you see a team early, a lot of times these polls are just laughably bad. Again, 3 weeks ago, Florida State was number 10 in the country, and now they're number 100. So it's I don't know. So that's just my point. If you play Florida State week 7 and they're number 10, that says a lot more to me than if it's week 3 or week 0, and people don't really know who's who yet. So that's my point. We're getting some super chats so we can boogie and keep it moving. But that's a great question. Does it make sense what I'm saying? I think that when you beat them, I think that it merits a lot more. And then also, again, you've seen a team lose a quarterback. Sam Bradford tore his ACL at Oklahoma the 1 year. It's something like that happens. If you beat them early when they have him, that's different than the team at the end of the year. Does that make sense?
No, totally. I just always use that 2006 Iowa game. That always stuck with me because I just kept remembering. I mean, at that point in time, 'cause I had a lot of friends in Iowa, and close to the Iowa football program. And at that time, I mean, they believed. They were 4-0. They were number 13. It was a night game, and they absolutely believed that they could beat Ohio State that night, and it didn't happen. And you guys laid it on them, but and I don't care. I don't know where they ended up that year, 25 or out of the top 25. But on that night, man, they were loaded for bear and ready, and they absolutely believed. But anyway, I loved your thoughts on the question, because I've always wondered about them.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we went out there in 04 and we lost 31-7. I mean, that was, I thought they were going to fire, Jim Bowman. I mean, it was. I mean, you look those stats up. I think we had 30 carries for 28 yards. I mean, it was the wheels, the bottom fell out in 04. That was when we were 3-3. It was funny because that was my first career start, and I was blocking Matt Roth, who's a 2nd-round pick, best player on their entire team. Blocked him decently too. I didn't have a terrible day. It wasn't I was a turnstile, but I'll never forget. I got pulled late in the game. They took me and Mike Nee out. They put Tim Schaefer and they put TJ in. And all of a sudden, Matt Roth went crazy. And there was a play where he literally picked up Tim Schaefer and threw him into Troy Smith. And I was like, I told you he was good. He's really good. But I was blocking him. I was staying in front of him. It wasn't the prettiest thing in the world. But sometimes when you're playing against a great player, it's not always going to look like a clinic tape on every rep. Sometimes it's just just grit your teeth and get it done somehow. It's when I watch TJ Watt and Max Crosby, Nick Bosa, Myles Garrett. When I watch like these incredible pass rushers, it's just like, get it done however you have to. It's not always going to look like some beautiful, perfect rep. It's just keep that guy off the quarterback by somewhere. Because no matter what teams do, and again, I hate NFL offensive coordinators, and I think some of these guys should be sent to federal prison for what they do to some of these tackles. Because I'm like, look, nobody can block Max Crosby. He gets a sack or 2 sacks every single week. Same with Nick Bosa. Same with TJ Watt. For the love of God, chip on every play. Double team him every play. Make all the other guys beat you. But these guys are like, nope, we're just going to let everybody man up across the board. We're going to go empty protection, and we're going to let this guy just kill whoever he goes against. Because I don't know. I don't know. Like I live in some different dimension where I'm just like, I don't know why they put these guys out here. And again, I get they're professionals. I get that. But some of these guys are so good, and they're the one mega threat on every defense. And these OCs are just like, nah. Max Crosby, nah. Myles Garrett, nah. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna let Zadarius Smith try to beat me instead of Myles Garrett. Morons. Quintucky, thanks for the 20. Appreciate you explaining to me the OSHA connection to Vince Morrow. Is it off the books transactions, rankings, etc.? Who is getting info paid? Chip Trainum, Jagger, Burton. I have no idea what any of that means. I wish I did. Explain to me the OSHA, the Ohio State Athletic Association connection to Vince Morrow. Well, I mean, I think Vince is a Youngstown guy. So, I mean, he's got ties all through, the territories up here. And, Vince, I mean, honestly, like, I think Vince, I'd make Vince our tight ends coach today because he's a recruiting machine. And if he had, like, an upgraded logo from Kentucky to Ohio State, I think he'd be a dynamo. Because, again, tight ends coach, like, that's where I'm putting my energy guy. You don't need to be some wizard coach. I'm putting the best recruiter in the universe at tight ends coach because it's the easiest position to coach by far on the entire field. You coach one guy, like you're not coaching 5 guys like the O-line coach or the receivers coach or QB coach. And you coach one guy and he's not really that important. Because again, our tight ends this year have been, pretty much atrocious. They've had their moments, but again, our tight ends by far the worst position group on the team. And again, not being negative. And again, we have a very, very strong team. So it's not like it's that big of a diss when I say that it's the weakest room on the team. But I mean, I think Jelani's probably the only NFL guy in there if he gets his act together. But I mean, I would take Vince Morrow as our tight ends coach tomorrow. That's me. And again, I'll probably get flamed for that. But Vince, like when you go against Vince in recruiting, man, it's a problem. And if he actually had a real logo like Ohio State or Alabama or Georgia, he does how to get stuff done, man. Nevada, your thoughts? Do you have anything on Vince Morrow and his OSHA connection?
Do not have anything on that, but yeah, he's a great. Vince Morrow is one of those guys that you absolutely despise when he's recruiting against you and he's on the other team, and when he's on your side, he's to me he's kind of like Larry Johnson. I really couldn't stand Larry Johnson when he was at Penn State all those years. Respected the job they did and stuff like that, but didn't like him at all. And now that he's here, it's like, he's Larry's the best. We don't ever want him to leave. So I think Vince would have a similar impact at Ohio State. And I'm a little bit more bullish on the tight end room than you are, but think a guy like Vince would be such a clear upgrade from a recruiting standpoint that and it would help across the board, not just in the run. I mean, he can recruit offensive linemen. He can recruit just about anybody. Would love to see what he could do in while wearing the Ohio State colors. I'm not sure if it would ever happen, but in these crazy times, you never say never. But yeah, that'd be a fun one because he could do some work.
Yeah, he's like Loxley. Like Loxley's the guy that you hate to go against, and Zach loves Mike Loxley. And Mike, I mean, that guy. You want to talk about a guy that can recruit? Like I mean, when he's at Bama, he got Jerry Jeudy and Devontae Smith and. I mean, it was like the killing fields, like Henry Ruggs. I mean, all first rounders. Because those are all guys that Zach was going after when he was there. So some of those guys, again, my tight ends coach, if I ran a staff, my tight ends coach would be the best recruiter in the entire United States of America. That literally would be your job. It's like being the running backs coach. Like the running backs and tight ends, you have to have a guy who's an ace recruiter because it's just not that hard to coach either of those positions. Madam's Prime Entertainment, thanks for being entrepreneur. Thanks for the 5. Minus 5.5 USC. Has Vegas not adjusted yet? Seems like a chance to bet the farm. What do you two think? Is that the line for the Michigan? Does Michigan play SC this week?
Yeah.
Oh my God, is it 5-5? Oh my God, Nevada. That seems
I think it's I
light.
think I think it's I think it's 6.5. It's -6.5 on Bet Online. Um, but I mean, I think the underrated point in this game is the fact that SC has a bye week this week. So SC
Yes.
had 2 weeks to prepare for that, which is I think is absolutely enormous. And Michigan's just bad. I mean, the only thing that's keeping that line from being 9 or 10 is just reputation. It's just
Yeah.
a lingering look at that. That because Michigan's been a cover machine the past 3 years, like inexplicably, the last 3 years they've just covered, and then this year now they don't cover, don't cover, don't cover. So I don't know what's changed, but something's changed. Can't really put my finger on it. But no, I think a more fair line would probably be 13 or 14. Um, so, but I always hesitate to bet at Ann Arbor because it's always a wonky place to play. But I think SC's going to wax those guys this week, and as good as Texas was against them, SC with 2 weeks to prepare is really going to be a problem for those guys.
Yeah, I agree. That seems like a pretty tasty number right there. Yeah, that'll be a good one. Um, Marie's Clarinet, that's a great name. Next for the five, my friend. Do we have the best QB room in the country? Would you take Sayin over Arch Manning on potential? Ooh, that is tough, man. Because Arch looked really good last night. Now they're playing a turd burglar. So, I mean, whew, that's a tough one, Nevada. I mean, we haven't seen Julian play a ton. He's got a ton of ability, but I mean, Arch looks like he's going to be the Heisman, favorite next year after Quinn leaves. So I don't know. That's tough. If you said, Kirk, who do you want at quarterback between Julian Saint and Arch Manning? I mean, I think Julian's going to be excellent next year. I mean, I think he just has to play. But Arch had some wheels too, man. He hit a huge run, which was crazy. I never saw that. And most people didn't really know much about Arch because they watched wherever he played at in high school. It looked like you're watching like seventh grade football. Whatever little Christian school he was at, because the teams he played were so bad. I don't know, Nevada. Do we have the best QB room in the country? I'd say it's hard to go over Quinn and Arch because, just let's just be real. Like, Quinn's going to be a top 5 pick in the draft. Is Will Howard a top 5 pick? I don't think so. Arch, over Sane. I mean, Julian hasn't played as much as Arch did yesterday, and Arch looked really good. He threw for 4 touchdowns and huge numbers. So, again, I'd say we probably have the second best quarterback room, just being honest, And again, Kirk, you guys always want me to be fair. It's like, well, Quinn Ewers is the Heisman favorite right now. So, I mean, that's where I'm at. Nevada, your thoughts. Do we have the best QB room in the country, and would you take Julian Sayin over Arch Manning on potential?
Well, I'd have to see who the third guy is because we're not even talking about Devin Brown, and if Will Howard got hurt tomorrow and it was a game that mattered, they'd be rolling to Devin. They wouldn't be going to Julian Sayin, and so the three-headed monster of Will Howard, Devin Brown, Julian Sayin compared to Arch, and then again, I'm not sure who the third guy is. I think it's close. I think you could certainly make an argument for it, but I mean. Quinn's off. I think the world of Quinn. I think Quinn's the best quarterback in college football this year, and I'm not sure it's really all that close. I think he's going to be a great pro. Um, Anybody with the last name of Manning, hard to bet against them unless their name's Cooper Manning. They seem like those guys all roll out aces. So, yeah, I'd say it's a close call. We'll probably lean to Texas.
Yeah, I mean, I just, that's what any fair, if you said, hey, Quinn could be our starting quarterback this year, we'd be the unanimous number one in the country. And I think Will Howard is excellent, but Quinn's better, and everyone would say that. I mean, Will Howard would say that. But I love Will Howard. Like again, it's hard. This isn't a thing where, I'm not trying to slight Will, but if you talk to NFL scouts and GMs and those types of agents, like Quinn is ascending rapidly right now. And again, I think he's the top quarterback. I mean, I'd take him. If you're looking at face of the franchise, like, it would be hard for me to take Shedeur Sanders, who acts like a moron. Didn't shake the quarterback's hand last night. He acts like an idiot. Like, I can't. I look at some of these guys that get out, like Caleb Williams and Shedeur and some of these morons. It's like, give me Quinn, give me C.J. Stroud, give you these guys that are a little bit more, like just dialed in. It's all about football. It's not about all the ancillary stuff. Because being a quarterback's hard. I mean, you got to work, 18 hours a day and grind, and it's tough, man. But I think that's a great question. Well, Nevada, a lot of good football on right now, so we could probably wrap this thing up if you want to. We get the bye week coming, but any final thoughts?
No, I'm excited for the Marshall week. I mean, it's funny what a week off of Ohio State football will do to you, man. I can't wait to see, how the Buckeyes roll out and what they're doing. I swore when we talked before the season that I would enjoy every single snap, every single possession, every single play, and we're already 2 games in, man. And these seasons go by so fast. So I'm really looking forward to this week. I hope we'll have a sharp week and get after Marshall, and then we get to all root for USC to kill Michigan. So it's a big weekend coming up.
Yeah, it's crazy if you count week 0. We're literally 4 weeks into the season. 0, 1, 2, we're just in 3. So I mean, it's crazy.
That makes me sad.
It makes you sad. I know it makes you sad. Sad panda. Something to make you happy is real quick. Let's plug one more time the greatness of Dagestan Poppy. One more time, Nevada. Talk about the greatness of Dagestan Poppy, please, for the love of God.
Yeah, no, we've been talking about Dagestan Poppy for 6 months on thing. We've directed you guys to his Twitter feed. It's spelled just like you said, Dagestan, Dagestan, Poppy, Papi. He's a guy who's a huge Ohio State fan who also just happens to be the best MMA handicapper in the world.
Yes.
And
oh my God.
And while he sells his picks in advance to large betting syndicates and people that are part of his thing, he gives them away before the fights as well. And if you're an Ohio State fan, you DM him and he'll talk with you. He'll tell you about the fights, see what he likes. Just a great guy. And you guys have all been following his tracked action. I mean, he swept the card again last night. Went 3 for 3, and he is a absolute phenomenon in terms of being able to make money betting mixed martial arts. And everybody likes to make money. And with the proliferation of legalized gambling and smartphones and DraftKings and stuff, I mean, it's like a money machine. And he's free, and he's giving them away. So and understand. Kirk and I, we have no business. We make no money off of Dagestan other than tailing his action.
Yes,
that's what we tail his action.
We tail his action hard.
So we're not advertising for him because he's a sponsor or he pays us money. We're doing it because we caught on to what he was doing, and we've been following his tracked action, and we're like, this guy is so good at this. It's stunning. But he's got his entire tracked action there of his last 1,000 bets over the past 18 months. And he's up 148 units. So when you do the math on that, guys, it's like some ridiculous ROI on betting. I've been around gambling my entire life, through Vegas. That's why I'm Nevadabuck. I have never seen anything like this guy's run. And so definitely follow him on Twitter. Hit him up via DM and track his action and see if Kirk and I show us the lie. If we're fibbing on this one, but he's very, very good.
Yeah, and he doesn't just pick the humongous favorite to win. He picks this fight will go the distance. This fight will go the distance. And then this guy Merab somehow, and again I'm killing myself. I didn't bet him when he was plus money because he ended up being the slight favorite last night, and he absolutely murdered Rainbow Hair Boy. I mean that was just brutalization last night. I was like, oh my God, he got this one called. The Merab the Machine, who I love watching that dude fight. So the moral of the story is get on Twitter, follow Dagestan Poppy. He is a Buckeye, and he's excellent at what he does. So, all right. Any final thoughts of that? I'll wrap the show.
No, 4 weeks through the season, and Ohio State's still undefeated, even if we've only played in 2 of them. And let's go get Marshall this week and have another good week.
Yep, another great week on Buckeye Scoop. Appreciate you guys as always. I hope you guys had a great Sunday, kicking it, watching football, enjoying the show. Again, I appreciate you guys being on here each and every night. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click that little alert bell. Again, another huge night, another huge weekend. It's exciting that football's back. It's nice to have a little break, but it's also it's more exciting to get back into the Ohio State game week swing of things. In the comments, let me know you're going to the Marshall game, and also we'll do some film breakdowns this week. We'll break down a little bit of Marshall's film and keep that cranking. If you guys enjoy the film breakdowns, type Y in the chat and also write that in the comments. Again, I just like to track it because, again, I like to make it what you guys want because we appreciate you guys. You guys have a lot of options in entertainment, and we try to make it as good of a show as we possibly can so that you guys enjoy it watching it. And again, thank you to all of you guys that are in the chat. Steely, Shrock, Kim, Akeem, all of our folks, Devin, everybody who's moderating, Sean Rawlings, all of our wrenches. Thank you guys for all that you guys do. Thank you to all of our regulars who are in here each and every night. Karis, I hope you had a great birthday yesterday. Again, I just love kicking it with you guys each and every night. So again, if you want to do something fantastic to really help us out, get on your smartphones, get on Apple Podcasts, get on Spotify, search for Buckeye Scoop, and just subscribe. Like, that is a huge thing to really help us out, and we really appreciate you. That takes 2 seconds to do. It's completely free. And it's a big way to help us out. So thank you. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. We will talk to you guys tomorrow, 7 p.m. We'll be ready to roll. Go Bucks.